us in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes of the July 28, 2013 regular meeting. Motion, please. Carol made the motion, seconded by Mr. Baker. Albert second. Ellen Long, yes? Yeah. Okay. Public comments. We don't have anybody. We have somebody on the page sheet apparently. Mr. Finkel is coming with us. Doing a very good job of that. Russ Atkins. Russ, your handwriting, we're going to have to work on it.
I got a sloppy ink pen. Blame it on that.
Russ has been with us before. He's with the LCHS band, and he wants to talk to us about band. Come on in.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Russell Atkins. I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the Lincoln County High School Marching Band. I'm not here to ask for anything this time, but thank you for something you've developed over the past 2 years. We came to you to ask that a safe, adequate area be developed that would allow our high school marching band to practice and develop their yearly marching competition shows. And this year, for the first time, it will be used for just that purpose. It actually has mowable grass on it now, so we're happy about that. The field still needs some work and more seed needs to be planted, but the field exists and it is usable. Okay, despite not having an adequate space over the past couple of years, we still had a very successful marching season, competing in marching band competitions across our state and placing in every competition that we entered. For the first time in Lincoln County High School history.
Go ahead. We have to leave that door open. Sorry.
We won a grand champion trophy in our division. So we're tickled to death about that. That was at the Cabell Midland competition also, so that's even better. So with a more suitable field and more band members, we're expecting even greater success with our Lincoln County High School marching band. So I'm here tonight to say thank you from all the past, current, and future band members and parents. We say thank you for investing in our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
And we sure appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. On occasion we get thanks, but we sure appreciate when we do. But I think the board and the whole here, we are supportive of the band. We've got the middle school program working, hoping it can continue the food program. We employed in reality an assistant now rather than one that just worked on his own, and all those things. We too are. When you go to competitions, as we've said before, you represent all of us, and that's really what we want to see. Right now, we were discussing a little bit here. Is there a plan now to move the portable building that's up at the high school, or have you all locate that?
Mr. Cook has spoken about a building, but I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know whether he's going to petition you guys or maybe for a building. But he had mentioned, more than a couple times for a building to be put down here.
Well, there's one up by the high school, behind the high school, that I think that's going to be refurbished in some way. I think maybe he plans on using that, unless he has some other plan.
I don't know. I've heard it said, but I don't know the details on that.
Okay.
But the only reason I'm here is just to say thank you. There are still a few more things that need to be done to it, but over the years, the grass will establish itself better than it is. We planted 200 pounds of grass seed on it in March, and so it's actually coming up really well, but it's not. It will have to fill in amongst what's already established. I think there's an open ditch on the back side of it that still needs to be fixed, but I'm sure that'll be taken care of.
Those things are like a work in progress.
Yes, and I think they had originally put piping in there, and they couldn't cover it, or something happened. But I thought, well, you know, if we can get that taken care of, they could fit a whole field on there, which makes it a lot easier to practice your shows if you have a realistic area to do it in. We actually hosted a drum corps last week and a half ago at the high school, and they were from Oregon. The Oregon Crusaders, they're one of the touring drum corps. So they stayed here at the high school. They got in, me and my son were over there, they got in about 5:30 Sunday morning. And we stayed there helping them with whatever they needed, would find it, whatever they needed, we went and got it. And we were there till midnight, Sunday night. We left, we were tired.
Had enough.
But, you know,
where were they, last year, weren't they on the soccer field?
Well, yes, and this year, the guy that was organizer, or the chief, whatever, came to me and said, we offered our band field, and it's still, you know, still needs some work. He said, due to the type of show that we perform, we can't use this field because it still has ditches and holes and, you know, drains. It's a work in progress. And we had mentioned the football field was across the way, but last year they couldn't transport their people because they didn't have enough hours on their buses, the drivers. Well, this year that wasn't a problem. So we made some phone calls and managed to get the field where they could use it. And later on, the organizer said, "Thank you very much for all your hospitality." And I said, "Well, you know, if we visit your house, we'd expect the same thing." So, you know, stuff like that, it just makes a good name for you. You know, if you're help people, they'll remember it. You know, and it just makes a good, you know, you don't get such a bad name. West Virginia, it's got, you know, we have problems anyway. So anything that we can do to help ourselves is just that much better. And they were from Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And that was the second year that we've hosted the same corps. So they could go anywhere, but I guess they come back here, so I guess we were doing okay. But I just wanted to thank you guys for helping us out and developing the field, because it's just an investment. You know, that will be there from now on, and anyone can use it, you know, and especially band.
You better talk to Ms. Chapman. Ms. Chapman, it's good. Anybody, board, any comments, anything else?
But thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, appreciate the rest of the comments. We agree with him, the band field can only get better. Okay, let's go to the administrative section, please. Can I have a motion to look at those items? Ms. Curry, second by Ms. Wilson.
Okay, item A is a bid extension for bread and bakery products through the Southwestern Schools Cooperative for the 2015-16 school year to Bimbo Bakeries USA, doing business as Heiner's Bakery. See the attachment. I figured that would get a chunk. Yeah.
You did, I first read that.
That's right. Well, I did a double take too, last Angie out. Item B is a contract with Brenda G. McGann and Associates LLC to provide physical therapy services to eligible students for the 2015-2016 school year, according to the terms of the contract. See the attachment, and this is being funded through special education. Items C and D, I know that you all approved those tonight after the fact. These ladies, we got their information late. They're excellent presenters. We won them for the Teachers Academy that was going on at the high school as a part of the Priority School Initiative. So that's why you're seeing them on there after the training had taken place. Item C is a contract Jill E. Ziegler to provide professional learning for LCHS math teachers. on 7/29, according to the terms of the contract. See the attachment, paid for through Title II funds. And item D is a contract with Sally Ann Inter to provide professional learning for LCHS science and social studies teachers on 7/29/15, according to the terms of the contract. Also funded through Title II. Item E is out-of-county student transfers for the 2015-2016 school year. We currently have space or room available for these students. We're asking you to approve them tonight, with the understanding that there is a provision in that transfer process that if, for whatever reason, the space wouldn't be available, that we would not be able to take those students. And I also want to add, I need like permission to add 2 additional transfers. These would be from Lincoln County to Kanawha. From Lincoln to Kanawha, kindergarten student, and from Lincoln to Kanawha, first grade student. Item F is to establish an additional bus route in the Guyan Valley attendance area and approval to post a position for bus operator. The bus operator position to be posted when the bus becomes available. And what's going on here is this has been part of those conversations that Mr. Cummings has had with the board, whereby he needs to alleviate the overcrowding that we have currently over on the Guyan River, and to make the pickup of those students along Route 10 more efficient, because currently right now we've got 4 or 5 different bus drivers picking up students, and some of them are driving right past kids only for someone else to come along and pick them up. So he also, part of this position would be where he's going to eliminate those pushers once we get the new buses. So that's why you see this. It probably will be October, maybe even later, before we post this position. Item G is a revised policy for 30-day public review and comment. Policy is available online at our county website. It's the 3140 is the policy number, early notification of retirement for professional personnel. This policy enables professional employees, if they notify the board before January the 15th of their intent to retire, that they're eligible for a $500 bonus. So this policy is just up for revision. And according to Brenda, because I'd asked Brenda this question, the service personnel policy did not need a revision, right, Brenda?
That's correct.
Okay. Item H, this item is also coming to you late, and this was a last minute kind of thing, invited by the Department of Education for Angie to attend the USDA Team Up for School Nutrition Success Workshop. The purpose of the workshop is to assist school food authorities, food service directors such as Angie, in implementing the new school meal program requirements that have come down from the feds. So this was an excellent opportunity for her to attend and participate in this activity, invited by the Department of Education, all expenses paid by the Department of Education. I, school volunteers who on occasion may also serve as bus chaperones for athletic events, academic competitions, or school outings, and have completed volunteer orientation.
Okay, anybody have any comments or questions?
I do.
Mr. Baker?
And it's not anything particular here, it's generally though the process that we have. I know that, I believe the last couple meetings there have been issues over contracts we've issued, general issues as to rates, whether expense travel, et cetera, is reimbursable. And I think I may have a partial answer to my question already, but for example, item B. What do we do to make sure that we are extending contracts with the most qualified people at the best rates so that we get the most out of the money that we spend. Because I looked at the rates we're paying for this Brendan G. McGann and Associates, and I realized it's physical therapy services for, paid for on the special education fund, so maybe it's different than normal PT. But not long ago, when I had fairly substantial PT on my elbow, the rates per hour were about half of what we're paying this group. So I wonder, and I know Mr. Wilkerson showed me a provision of the law that says we're not required to bid these positions, we can hire without bidding. But in my mind, the competitive bidding process is designed to make sure we get the most bang for our buck. It says that we may do that, but doesn't say that we're not able to do that. I guess my question is, what do we do to make sure that we are hiring the people that give us the most bang for our buck?
And I guess it's no secret to anyone here that this is one of my concerns too, so.
And mine isn't particularly addressed to any individual. It just seems like we're paying a lot per hour for contracted services in a lot of positions where on the free market, those positions don't come in half of what we're paying. I understand there's travel considerations. I understand there may be things they have to bring with them to perform their services, but at some point, it just, I mean, the rates are so much that it jumps out at me as almost unreasonable.
Well, this is not the only deal that we have that I feel we need to bid them out either. Maintenance harsh guys that come in are too expensive. We need to.
Well, I mean, are these kinds of services available to us through RESA?
The PT was going to be explored after OT. I think I shared that with occupational therapy, which there'll be a contract for that next week. But anyway, we tried to save money through RESA and hire one through there, won't hire their own. They posted it for a couple of weeks, and I think it said nobody applied. So the PT, I did do some calling today to all of our RESAs, only one, I mean, all of our counties in a RESA. The only one that got back with me was Wayne. They have a full-time PT in their county, their own. They pay them on a master's plus 45 scale with a $30,000 stipend plus benefits, so it's probably around $100,000 for that person.
Well, how many hours of service do we get? 'Cause that's one of the things and I know most of you know that I use my phone to review our agendas and things rather than having the paper copy normally. But I don't have the actual contract, but I noticed there's nothing in the contract that puts a limitation on the number of hours. Is it just the amount? Is that the
It's the
cap?
amount, and the amount from 2000 hourly rate, from 2012-13 to 2015-16 has went up $2.70.
But it's $115 an hour
Right.
now.
Right, it was $113.30 in 2012-13. Okay, I mean, if that's the board's desire, then that's what we need to do.
We definitely examine
we
how
do
we
that,
go
but-
about this. Part of it rallies the fact, I mean, some of these contracts, you know, they've been ongoing, that we've continued for years.
Well,
This situation, this
32
lady, what was
years.
it, 32 years, this
32
lady's
years
working in
on
the
this
school
one.
system. so-
And it may be that this ladies group provides the absolute best services at the lowest rate available.
Right.
But I don't have any information that tells me that.
But how many hours a week does?
Well, it varies because it would depend on the student that they see. We often have referrals of students, that new students come in. So we may start out with, so many hours, and next week it may be 10 hours more because a new student was identified or it was increased. One of the issues, and I've talked about this before, is we kind of got away from screening these students, instead of evaluating instead of screening. Evaluation takes 3 hours, plus the report and then go back to a meeting, where a screening takes 15 minutes. then at that point, they would know whether it meets that. And I know I've talked to this lady very much about this, because I was really concerned about when I saw how much it went up those years. I thought, well, they really raised the price, but they didn't. It was just the services, they was more services. But what she evaluates, probably 50% of them qualify, she said, which is probably there. But we have gotten away, we as a system, out in the schools, and some of the people got away of wanting to do a screening instead of they're wanting to do an eval instead of a screening.
And look, I hate to interrupt, but I want to make sure I understand. An evaluation is something that's done by her.
Right.
And we pay for, whereas a screening, we do that ourselves.
No,
and
we
say-
still pay for it, but it's 15 minutes instead of 3 hours. Okay.
And when she screens, practically, what is the difference in a screening and an evaluation, other than one being more in-depth than the other?
Much. I mean, it may be a student that she just watches walk, have them walk on a balance beam, because when I was at Ranger, I had a student that she had to do that with, and went up and down the slide and just watched various things and determined whether that student needed to be assessed more.
So the evaluations are more beneficial to the students. It not only determines the students that actually need the services, but also it may eliminate some that are getting them that do not need them based on our evaluation.
That there has been students asked.
Whereas with screenings, you only get a very limited period of
Well,
time, and you can't really tell who needs what.
No, the screening, she determines at that point whether they really need an evaluation.
Okay.
That's what happens. And when, one of the things, there's some expenses here, in 2010-11, we had a gentleman hired named Ron McCown. Okay, Ron was the adaptive PE. He went around with Miss McGann and did most. He had a trainer's background and was trained under her, and he did a lot of these services. Well, when he retired, we didn't replace that position. So, that was a $60,000, $70,000 position. So now there are PT assistants out here doing some of the same things he's doing. So, but that was part of that. But then the jump from let me look here, from 2012-13, it was 66,000. Then 13-14 was 115,000. And then when I look at that, and I start thinking, well, did they raise? And that's when it went up $1.70 an hour. We were just seeing more kids, and a lot of it has to do with there are more kids being identified in the Birth to 3 program, and we got a more universal preschool program where kids are coming in and they're getting a lot more services, and plus the students that are on drugs and alcohol, there's just a whole lot more identified. But we got to do a better job as a system, determine who needs evaluation, who's screened. But we get in meetings, and a lot of times people will say, well, this person needs an evaluation, when really they don't understand the whole concept of it. And I talked about that, I don't know if I did the last time, but before we had what we called a student assistant team meeting. And at that time, years ago, there was a form, and in that form, you determined whether that student needed a screening. Well, if it happens in the student assistant team meeting, then the 80 days for evaluation of a special needs student that kicks in effect, doesn't kick in effect. Once that sat and they do the screening, then we'll kick in if they need that, then we'll have 80 days to complete all that evaluation and everything. So we got to go back to using the SAT process to identify the students, instead of just everybody saying, well, no, this student needs OT, or this student needs PT. Somewhere in the last couple of years, we've kind of lost that, where we were with that. When Ron was here, we would evaluate probably one student a year. Now we're doing, 15, 17 students a year evaluations and identifying more students. But that's part of it. But I can understand that there's a lot, and that's what we need to do, and that's what we need to do. But, I'll say the lady been here 32 years and done a great job.
Mr. Lemon, I guess my question is, do you feel this is a position that we could share with another county? Let's even ask how much time they spend.
We could possibly do that. I know she has 2 assistants that come out, then she comes out, does all the eval, then she has to come out and do so much.
I mean, like we do our attorney.
Something to recent.
Recent, we tried to explore that with OT, I don't know if we could do it with PT or not.
I mean, I just want.
Yeah.
It's about 1,000 hours roughly, is about what you billed us. I mean, I use the 115 an hour at,
Right.
1,000 hours gives you 115,000 that we paid last year. It's about 1,000 hours a year,
Right.
roughly. And that would include travel and all the other things they get
Right.
billed for.
Right, and, I mean, we're trying to cross this, even today, we're talking about, see, a lot of times these people come out, and there's not school, we get paid, so we talk about putting them on the call-out system. When they're not school, they'll get called, the same call, and they won't drive to Hearts, and we pay them a half a day, and we're trying every way we can to shape the cost.
Yeah, but there's a provision in the contract that they get 4 hours for showing up.
Right, so that's the reason we want to, and another issue we have is sometimes they'll drive to Hearts or Midway, and that student's absent that day. So we gotta figure out a way where the schools can notify, that morning to call and say, Johnny's not here today, don't come this way. So-
I don't think it would be too much of us to require that. They know the students they're going to see on a daily basis, right?
Right.
Would it be too hard for that person to sit down and call the 4 schools? Take
Well,
5
they-
minutes to call the 4
yeah,
schools and
well,
say,
they-
hey, are my 4 students here today? Are my
They
4
can
here
do
today?
that.
I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable to ask them to do that.
Right.
Considering what we're paying, I don't think it's.
What they get paid for making the phone calls.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're understanding then that you're gonna go back and utilize the SAT process more to make sure.
Yes,
Whether it's
yes,
observation or
and-
evaluation.
Yes.
Now, the other thing, just for the general public, we've already alluded to it, there's a provision that allows that the Board of Education does not have to seek competitive bidding for services like these and several others.
Right.
And that's what had been questioned, I know, by Mr. Wilkerson. And Mr. Limble found that out, that this is something the board technically does not have to bid. Although, I think from the conversations that we've had, why would it hurt not to bid each year? And many of these, it's too late for this current year because we've already employed people and we're ready to start. But in the future, Ms. McGowan, in 32 years, done a great job, and maybe, she's the best of areas at the best possible price. But it certainly wouldn't hurt for that particular job and these others also to put out a competitive bid, see what's out there, and to see if there, if anything's changed. It may be that we still get the same people. And then this, what Rowdy just mentioned, you could always include that in your provisions, that you contact the schools before you come. Have that one in your.
I'd like to have that in this provision, quite frankly. I don't want to pay somebody for half a day.
Well, I'm just saying, but we can, at this point, I don't know whether, they might do it voluntarily or not, but if we were to seek a competitive bid, we could cite that as this is one of the criteria that you have to do. But anyway, we know at this late in the year, we're kind of down.
Yeah,
we are.
But in the future, it wouldn't hurt to bid these out, and that's what Fred's talking about, even other things, it never hurts, even though somebody's been there for a long time, but.
Well, I mean, all these kinds of positions, they're not surprises. We know we're going to need these people.
Right.
If it's something new that pops up and we need someone to fill them next week, maybe the option then is you take whoever you can get to come do it on that short-term notice. But I'm not even sure that all these positions need to be competitively bid. I think something, though, I don't have a problem with doing that, but I want something to know that whomever is recommending this person has looked at alternatives and why you believe this is the best person, at a minimum. I mean, I know short-term, we can't do anything about this. I'm just thinking, as Steve said, down the road.
In liability, I'm gonna throw this out there. If you have somebody that started working with somebody in preschool, worked with them 4 or 5 years, and next year you bid and get another physical therapist, they're gonna have to come in, start all over, then next year you bid for another one. I think that could be an issue.
Well,
That's what Rowdy's saying.
that's exactly the kind of things I want to know, things I want raised so that I feel like I'm spending the county's money the best way I can.
And when they make that decision, that recommend to us, they take those kind of things into consideration. You may say that very thing, this one was a little bit cheaper, but this one's been working with them for 5 years. So, and that's reasonable, and that's all. That's understandable. Okay. All right, anything else on that one? Anyone, anybody okay? Any of the other items under this section? Once again, under item E, there was an addition of 2 students in Lincoln County at Kanawha, first grade kindergarten. One question, Bill, or Jeff, on item F. Now, bus operator position to be posted when the bus becomes available. I guess the wording of that, could that be phrased, I mean, what, if the bus, we find out we're gonna get it one day, then we post it, then there's a time element there. Could that be phrased a little bit differently to where you could post a job and have it written in such a way that the person would assume the duties when the bus becomes available? I mean, the way I'm reading is I'm gonna wait till the bus pulls in out there, and then we're ready to post a job, then we're gonna go a week or two, we're gonna hire somebody. And then the ripple effect of that person's job that, you know, may get on another one, then we gotta fill their job. I mean, just something to think about. If it were worded in such a way that the person assumes the position when the bus becomes available, that way you go ahead and bid and do your, you know, your job advertisements.
Well, we could word it just as you said.
I mean, just think about that, because if, the way I read it is we're gonna wait till it's available, but, you know, I don't know how much time ahead you have. But just, you know, think about that.
I got the other folks. Does Rod know what route this is gonna be called?
Yes.
So
We
you
have
got
a
all
job
that
description.
worked out?
We got all that worked out already.
So, well, the older drivers gonna bid on it, they'll know what it is.
Right, I see what you're saying. Maybe, yeah,
Well, that
maybe
way-
out in front of it.
Yeah, that way the person, you know, I have a, well, say it's a current driver, like what Fred's scenario is. The person bids on it, knowing that I'm actually gonna assume this when that bus comes
Right,
in.
yeah.
But now, the job that I presently have is vacant, so then you could go ahead and bid that job out. So
Right.
any ripple effect, all that could take place, and everybody realizing that everybody's gonna make that movement once the bus is here.
So on August 23rd, you have one set of bus runs, a new bus rolls in that evening. August 24th, the person that bid on this position steps into the new run, and the person that we've hired steps in to fill the run. Whatever, because I imagine that there's priority in runs that the drivers like based on seniority.
Right.
So you might wind up with the new driver, the truly new driver, ultimately being on a run halfway across the county rather than driving anything near this route. So we're on the same page.
No, that's a valid point. We could go ahead. I mean, we could maybe even just strike that language that's in the parentheses. We know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So if we just took that out, I mean, that's basically just for your information to know. I mean, we're just asking to go ahead and post a position. We could be out in front and do so. No, and the person wouldn't be able to assume the job.
I mean, you would put
Right,
that on
that
the
would have to be in the,
advertisement.
Put that on the book.
right. So we could do that.
Okay, so are you requesting that we strike what's in
I'm
parentheses?
requesting that, yes, we remove what is indicated in parentheses.
All right, so bus operator position, bus comes back, we take it. So establish an additional bus route in the Guyan Valley attendance area and approval to post the position of bus operator, then you put the particulars in your post.
In the job post.
The
Is that okay?
attachment we received doesn't show a route number or anything. Do you know that number already?
Mr. Cummings has that information.
Well, it's, yes, it
Yes.
is. I noticed it didn't have a number.
It's a route name.
It's a description, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has up to the top route number, but then it's not.
It's not been assigned a number yet.
It's probably sequential, say whatever the last one is the next one.
Right, that's what it is.
Okay. The right.
That's right.
Okay, anything else administratively? If not, we'll call for questions. Is that an all yes vote for administrative items?
Yes.
Go to finance, do the motion, please.
I'll move.
Second.
Second
by Larry. And Mr. Linville.
A, schedule of invoices totaling $142,434.93. Attachment, invoices available for review at the county office.
It's good.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about this? I got a feeling these
Last man standing.
These figures are going to start to increase pretty soon. Okay, no questions, then all yes on the finance side.
Yes.
Okay, personnel, need a motion, please. Carol makes a motion, second by Fred. And we got a revised personnel.
Bill, you want to go through
Oh,
this?
Item A, employment of short, long-term substitute professional personnel. Item B, employment of professional personnel. C, employment of professional personnel pending FBI, CIB clearance and issuance of first-class permit. D, transfer of professional personnel. E, transfer of service personnel. F, employment of extracurricular personnel. You need to pull item 37, delete 37. After that bus driver will not be able to make it back to make that after-school run.
Right.
So that would be
37,
reposted.
Charlene.
Item G, no leave of absence. H, retirement and resignations. Okay, underneath that, abolished extracurricular professional posting at West Hamlin, that one is at West Hamlin, and the other one is at Midway for mentor students at risk. That was posted at the wrong school. It should have been Ranger and Midway. Should have been Ranger Midway. That's part of the Innovation Zone grant. Okay, abolish professional posting for the Harts PK8 teacher grade 2. That was where a teacher moved to a special ed position and then they left, and we thought we need to post that one, but we do not. But we may have to come back later. They're right at the cutting line of being over. So at this time, we're abolishing it, but once school starts, we may have to repost that for second grade. Okay, and a correction to the minutes of July 21st, 2015 meeting to reflect the effective date of the transfer of Matt Miller's August the 3rd rather than August the 12th, because he's already, he had those extra days and we did it, we put started his school, so that's what happened.
All right. Okay, Bill, we had one change there on the employment of extracurricular personnel. We're striking item 37. Other than that, anybody have any questions or concerns with the personnel schedule? If not, call for the question. All in favor of the personnel schedule as amended? How long, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mr. Priestley, at
Yes,
this
sir.
time, we met with principals today, Mr. Bigby and I, and we have 11 positions unfilled at this time. The biggest concerns at Harts, we have 6 positions there. The high school has 4, other than that, it's not a lot of positions.
Are we talking about professional?
Professional positions.
Well, at high school, what is it, math?
At school, we have a math, 2 special ed, and English. Yes. And, other than that, but Harts is the real concern.
How many were at Harts again?
6.
6 at Harts.
We have some English, special ed. Of course, the posting went down today, so we'll be getting with the principals, they'll be calling me, getting them interviewed. And that's the reason we wanted to have the additional extra meeting next week. So we're hoping to come back with most of those filled, but we know some of them will have to start out in subs. And we have a few positions where people left pending the return of them, and then we'll have to start out with subs in those too, but we're working on those.
Okay. Great. All right. Okay, under comments, concerns, any board members have anything? Question? Mr. Ricky, you look like you want to say something.
I do, I got one.
Go ahead.
Anybody's Whitney posted, so I know.
Well, last week I spoke to you about Guy Valley's Dean of Students, and we had posted that position twice and been unsuccessful in getting an applicant. As you recall, that position was posted as person with a qualification to have not only administrative certification, but also language arts certification. Because Mr. Adkins, the principal, wanted to be able to have this person teach a couple of language arts classes during the day. So we've kind of gone back to the drawing boards. We didn't have any applicants. Mr. Adkins has worked within his schedule, figured out a way to provide instruction for students, and now is wanting to post the position as just purely a dean of students. And in our conversation last week, when we looked at the job description, we talked about the fact that when you take out the language arts piece, the job description for the dean of students looks very similar to an assistant principal. So you all had asked me to take a look at, see what the difference in the salary would be for an assistant principal as opposed to dean of students. I got with Mrs. Gandy and with Trina Barrett, and we worked through 3 different scenarios, people with various degree levels and years of experience, and it averages about a difference of $10,000 more to hire an assistant principal than what it would cost to hire a dean of students. So I wanted to share that information with you, if a nod one way or the other, which way we want to move the dean of students.
Jonah's satisfied being a student, that's the way to go.
Is the number of days what really factors in?
It's 50, thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
I'm
210,
I'm
it's a
looking over-
210-day dean of students position and a 215-day assistant principal.
So it's extra days.
So you have 5 extra days. Thank you.
No, I just asked you.
Looking over
There's no confidential information laid out on this.
That's right.
Put on the table, it's available for review.
That's a legal thing.
That's exactly right.
I know I go through
No
Sean's
expectation,
trash.
there's no expectation of privacy when you lay it out in public.
That's the truth.
You keep it on your phone counts right there.
Nobody can read my phone except me.
See,
When
if
I
I
tilt
shake
it
it,
up,
then
you
it's like
notice
that.
I have to tilt it up to read it. I'm doing those special things. You can't read it unless I'm looking at it.
I could, the font's too small, I can't read them.
So we'll post it. We'll post the dean of students position tomorrow. We'll get that out there and leave it up for a week, and hopefully we're successful.
But realistically though, let's talk about that. If the job is that of an assistant principal, and we post it as a dean of students, and we do so to avoid $10,000 a year in salary, who are we going to get as candidates to fill what is, for all intents and purposes, an assistant principal position when they're not paid as an assistant principal? I mean, is that gonna be a problem? Do we anticipate even removing the language art requirement that no one is going to apply for the
Well,
job?
I anticipate that we'll receive applicants. We
Okay.
have several people within the system that I know who want to get their foot in the door.
Okay.
This would be an opportunity for them.
I just know that we've got, what, a couple weeks before the doors open, and
A lot of people want that extra summer days too.
That's true, that's true. That's
Could
true.
we save quite a bit of money by having this dean of students serve as a substitute from time to time?
Yes, and we're going to leave that in there. That's a great point. We're going to leave that in the job description. Yes.
Yeah.
I have another.
Good, you're on.
I received a phone call from Betty Jo Jordan, she's Assistant Superintendent of the State Department, to let me know that our State Superintendent, Dr. Martirano, will be visiting Lincoln County on August the 26th. He will visit Midway Elementary School, Milwaukee K-8, Lincoln County High School. And she extended an invitation to the board if you wanted to visit that morning as August 26th. One of those 3 schools to visit, to meet him and spend some time at the school, that you're welcome to do so. But he will be at Midway on that morning at 7:45 a.m. And according to Betty Jo, Dr. Martirano spends roughly an hour and a half per school, doing visits, and then moves on to the next school. So that's just for your information, to know that he's going to be in the county on that day. You have an invitation to stop by and visit.
Maybe you'll stop by and visit us here once.
And one other thing, Mr. Linville and I continue to work with Mrs. Tyree on a job description for the call-out monitor, the position up front that we discussed for the morning time. So I hope to have something maybe even next week for you to look at, provide some input, possibly so we can get that position posted. That's all I have. Thank you.
Our afternoon board meeting, the last board, what date is that? That's not the 26th, is it?
It's August 25th. I'm shooting from the hip, but I think it's the 25th. Is that right, John?
Yeah.
August
I
24th.
don't know, well, do you have
We
August
could visit
calendar?
Sunday afternoon.
August? What do you want
In
to know?
August, the third Tuesday in August.
Yeah, it'd be 21 more than today, today's the 4th.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sean's credit.
Be the 18th. The third Tuesday in
25th.
August, the third Tuesday will be the 18th.
Oh.
Today's the
last.
first,
The
okay, the
last
last will be the
Tuesday.
25th.
25th.
That's at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
That was what you're.
Yeah, I thought if he were visiting the eastern part of the county that morning, if it was the 26th, then he could come on over here.
You're going in right.
Oh, yeah, I'll be right.
Good one. All right, anything else on, anything? I got two things actually. One, we've got a board meeting or board meeting scheduled on September the 1st. We meet the 20, what we just said, 6th, right before that. We don't meet again until the 15th. So we've got a little lapse here, but there's a conflict, some scheduling for board members. And throwing out the possibility of changing that meeting to Thursday, September the 3rd, would that be a problem for anybody? I talked to Mr. Midkiff, and he thinks that in a way that might be helpful because it allows the posting a little bit more time.
It'd be very beneficial.
It would help there. And we're, like I said, we've just met the previous Tuesday, and we won't meet until the 15th, so we've got a couple of weeks there. Would that be acceptable to everyone? Is that looking at your calendars?
Is that 6 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, time would be,
Oh, I see what you mean, we're coming right out of one.
yeah. And since, that way, it'd be a problem for anybody, but we've got some board member conflicts on that, on the 1st.
Right.
And I just thought, wanted to see if Jeff had a problem with it. He said, no, it'd actually be helpful in a way because of your old posting, we have a little bit more time to employ
Yeah.
people. And they'd be able to look at the applicants. So is that, anybody have an issue with meeting on Thursday the 3rd rather than the Tuesday the
I don't.
1st? You guys? You okay?
Yes.
All right. So let's, we plan to do that, Brenda, whatever the formalities are.
At 6 or?
Yes, it's 6 o'clock, is that still everybody's preference? 6, yes, Sean, if you will also share that, we appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, thank you. The other thing I want to talk about is the ball field at the high school. I know Mr. Penny, is that his name? Spoke to us here a couple of weeks ago about the turf field turf man, not whatever his name is. He told us, $3.2 million for the turf field and all, and that's, less than, as the journal pointed out, less than the $5 or $6 million field before. But realistically, we don't have that kind of money. I mean, we all know that. What monies that we might have available to us through loans, I think our preference would be to use that towards one of these new schools we have. So is it realistic for us to even think about building a football facility at the high school? To me, it isn't, short of somebody winning some lottery or something. Because what funding we have, and I think Mr. Mickey is going to talk to us about that next week in regard to the SBA proposal. Whatever funding we have, I think everybody would agree, I'm not sure, but our first priority needs to be upgrading our schools rather than the athletic facility, although that's something we'd all like to see. So what I'm getting to, my thoughts here to see what you all think about it. We do have $200,000 in a football fund, and that's can't be spent for anything else. The county commission devoted $100,000, and we matched that. So we have that, and maybe with interest a little bit more than that. And that money is there. Now, that's a long way from $3.2 million, though, obviously. But we asked for a survey and all that to be done for $8,500, and that was kind of what the gentleman from Fieldturf here, I think, they gave us all that information. Our thinking was nice to know what he was telling us, but really our goal was to determine how a football field would set out there. And I think he showed us a couple of different options of how the field could set, and how big it would have to be to accommodate the track and the football field, and all the things that had to be there, and the contours of the land and everything like that. And I think that's what we were wanting to see, if everything would fit there with the track included and all. So that was really what we were paying for mostly. I don't blame him for then following up and coming and talking about his product, because that's wonderful. But once again, to me, rather than us having a place out there that is not used for anything, and one of these days, if we do ever acquire the funding and all, why don't we go ahead and try to get the field at a suitable level? Maybe use some of that money we have to employ somebody to come in and doze the field. And I know we had a dozer operator to work for days and days and days out there, moving a little bit of dirt. But I'm talking about use some of that money, have professionals come in, ever how the field must be designed, have that done, down and shape, because now it's not level, obviously, if you've ever looked at it, it needs to be leveled out and all that to what might be eventually a field. Then sow it and have it sown and seeded and all that, and then it serves two things to me. One, it serves, there's a usable space out there for the high school and band. You guys just said you got a great place now. but no, even that, for anybody, I've asked Mr. Christian this in the past, if we were to have just a grass field, and of course, once the turf field, I don't blame him, but there may be certain activities that the football team could do when there aren't pads and all right there by the school. And if not, others, the band might see times when they can utilize it. I don't know, it's any number of things. These people from Oregon come in and say, hey, this is a great place for us to work right here. But just to me, and one thing that's always bothered me is it looks, the appearance of it doesn't look good. Our campus is starting to look nice all over, and when we get that walkway done again, it'll look good. But when you drive around to the side, it looks not very good. So my thoughts, and I just want to see what your thinking was. Why don't we use some of that money we have to make the field down at a level that it needs to be ultimately, if we're ever going to have a field there. In the meantime, we've got something that's usable and it looks better. Of course, say that's all I've got to say about that.
Well, I've been wanting that for 2 years now, so everybody knows where I stand on it.
Are there restrictions on how the money can be spent?
For the football field.
Football
It's
field.
football field. That's all it was for.
For both $100,000 blocks?
Yeah, the county commission kind of challenged the board that they would give $100,000, and we accepted that. And Birdie has placed that in a separate account. It may, I think it's generated interest too, so I think it's exceeded that. And we really, I don't know, we may have spent, I don't know how we.
Yeah, they spent a little bit out there.
Yeah,
I think
some of it.
Well, and the reason I ask that is we also have a track team here at LCHS. We had a track team at Guy Valley and West Hamlin this year. And the LCHS track team, if you ever watch, they run on pavement. You don't run at track meets on pavement. Would it be better to have a turf football field and a track surface running surface? It would. Would it be acceptable to have a grass football field and a grass or packed cinder running surface? I think if you spoke to the track coach, he would 100-to-1 rather have a cinder track or a grass track around a grass football field rather than having the kids run on pavement. So,
I think it's.
and that's why I ask you if the money is earmarked specifically for a football field or a football
Oh,
complex, an
well,
athletic
complex.
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 Because if you're leveling out the football field, if you paid attention, I'm sure y'all did, if you look at the different designs for the football field track, I mean, the track's only, 10 feet wide, 12 feet wide around the perimeter of the football field. If you're leveling 120 yard by 50 yard wide football field, why not go ahead and throw the provision in for a grass or cinder running track?
Well, that was my intention a year or two ago. When we got this surveyor outfit in here, I was led to believe that we could do it in steps. Because, I asked him last week, and there are no steps to it, you do it all at once. Because I thought we possibly could put the track around there and then do the football field later. Well, what we're talking about now is, I think it's very doable with $200,000 to crown that field in the middle and put a track around it.
But I think what we should do too is we should involve the administration and the athletic coaches. Because now whether or how much we emphasis we place on their input, I don't know. But I would much rather have a cohesive group that agrees this is the best thing to do, or at least hear the concerns of people. Realistically, the football field was $3.2 million. What was it with the track and football field? 5 something?
Yeah.
And you add some grandstands and you're,
And a few
6, 7
lights.
million, some lights.
Well, this was,
I just don't-
what he proposed was 3.2 with.
With everything.
Track included.
Yeah, everything was 3.2.
But there was no lights. The
It was lights,
Yeah,
it was.
everything.
Was it grandstands? Was it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, everything,
was.
but I mean, what's $1 million here or there?
It was $1 million for just the field and the track, and that was the question I was going to ask now. I mean, the reason, Steve, I had the story in the front of the sport today was, well, you had a guy here who spent half an hour last week giving a bells and ribbons presentation, but there's just some frustration I think out there among some about there not being a stadium. And I'm not saying I'm on either side of that argument, but I wanted to give a flavour of what the guy was presenting. But he did give that breakdown of $1 million for field and track. And then the lights were more, and then the bleachers were more, and then there was contingency and drawings. What I was going to ask was, is 200,000 that we have now closer to $1 million? Is it more feasibly closer to $1 million than it is to 3.2 million? Is there any possibility of saying, of encouraging folks in the community to say, we have 200,000 on deposit, if we can raise another 800,000, we would be able to get your synthetic field with your track? Or are we going the other direction, like you're saying, of using the 200,000 to... I wanted to illustrate in the story I presented that, from what he said last week, it could be done in separate elements. Lights,
Well-
bleachers.
Yeah, but Sean, you get your turf down,
Yeah,
then you have no dressing room.
okay,
You have
of
no
course,
concession
I know,
stand.
I
You have
know.
no bleachers.
I know.
So you can't play football with it.
All you could do, I mean, if we had the synthetic surface field track, all you do is practice.
Practice, and nothing else. Which you could equally do on grass, obviously.
And my point is this, even if you phase that in, what you're saying.
Yeah.
You've got to start by having the field contoured at the proper level. And if that costs $20,000 or $30,000, I don't know what it costs to bring a big dose there and to move all that dirt, to make it level. That's gonna have to be done anyway. That's all I'm saying. That's not to say that once, maybe that's the way this thing's gonna evolve eventually in phases. But until you do that, until you get it down at that level, nothing else is gonna happen. But maybe you get that part done, then people become more, hey, something, progress is happening, and maybe it generates some more, monies from other sources. What Rowdy's suggesting, I think it fits right in with that. We get it down to the proper contour, what we are able to do, and then we, like I said, I'm sure they'd rather run on grass than run on concrete or something. But then maybe it's feasible, once we got it at that level, then it's feasible to see what the cost of putting in a running track there is, and have that added to it.
Well, and if I remember correctly, one of the things he said was that some of the stadiums they build, that the ultimate cost is dependent on how much work is done by volunteers and others. And in this situation, I think it makes sense. I agree completely with what you say. I believe what we need to do is, if you leave the nice plans with, I mean, we bought the survey, right?
Yes.
It's already paid for. Or will be if we don't engage them within so long. Is that right?
That's right. We end up paying for it.
Yeah, we're paying for it regardless, so we're entitled to all the drawings, et cetera. I think it makes sense to do what Steve says, hire someone that knows what they're doing, that can read those plans, and we need to pick or everybody involved needs to pick which of those three likely plans that we would proceed with if we suddenly had $3 million dropped in our laps. Probably not gonna happen. I didn't plan on talking about this, I looked at the drawings tonight, but there was one of the drawings where the field was caught that really made use of the available land. I think we need to decide if I don't think we foreclose the possibility of giving our students what the students in 98% of the other counties have or will have. Realistically, we don't have the money to do that. Probably not ever going to have the money to do that unless people get involved. I think it's a great first step to pick which field scenario we would like to have. And like you said, the very first thing you have to do, we will have the very drawings they would use to put the field surface down. It's their drawings. Bring someone in to get the property in the position it would need to be in if we would want to proceed. Put it in grass now, put the track in cinder. That's what we used to run on, what, the cinder tracks? And then that's not money, we're not throwing away this money, I wouldn't think, not if we comply with the engineering drawings. It's not money that's thrown away, it's an initial investment in what we hope to have in the future. And it makes the property usable now.
And it makes it look better.
And you get the Asiatic effect, that's exactly right. Said it.
Well, that's one, I agree with you, said it very well, is that it's a step in the right direction. You can't do this without, the first step is getting the foundation of what, but I think it's a good idea to get input from the
coaches,
some of the school
Yeah.
people as to which of they prefer, which of the designs. I kind of have my preference, but I want to hear what they say. And we could do that if we could arrange for them to come. Because if you get professionals in here, they're going to have dozers bigger than this room. And, they're going to move that dirt quickly.
Yeah, it won't take them 2 or 3 days to do
Yeah,
it.
they can do that, and then we can move on with it. But if we could proceed, then Jeff, you could get the people that, I think Riley made a good suggestion, of getting the input from the school. And maybe people from the public, if they know when we're going to discuss this, they can come in and give their 2 cents.
And just to clarify, the story wasn't necessarily to give any great hope of it being possible, and I made clear that the board gave no indication either way. Plus, I would say editorially this week, my thumbs up was for the building of a new school rather than.
What I'd like to do, I guess is several fold, but one is what we've talked about is doing something with the field, making it look better, and stepping in to making use of it and how we can. But the other thing is to let the public know what we're doing. Is that it's not realistic for us to do this, although I wish it were. But our main priority, I think, has to be these 2 possible schools that we could build. And we're going to hear from Mr. Meadkiff maybe next week on some possibilities there, what we might be able to do. That's where the funds that we have, our monies are very, very limited. I think you all will agree, it needs to be, those 2 schools need to be what available monies we have.
And what money we can borrow, not only what we have, but what we can
Well,
borrow.
I guess that, to me, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
because I know we don't have it,
Money
so
we
we can buy it.
have.
So it's not like, but that's what I'd like, to get back to what you're saying there, Sean, is to let the public know, that's not something that's really feasible for us to do. Our priorities need to be on the 2 school needs we have, and what monies we're gonna borrow, as Rowdy puts it here, needs to be devoted to that. Then, that being said, what can we do with the monies we do have available as far as that area that one day may be a football facility and a track facility? But that's, that's what you had said. I was planning on talking about this anyway, and what you said, Sean, just justified more to me. Let's let the public know what's going on here. And maybe that, if they see some things happening out there, you never know. There may be benefactors somewhere. Put it on the internet. Okay. That's all I have to say. Anybody have anything else? Carol, anything? Okay, well, we'll adjourn until next week, August the 11th at 1 o'clock now. I've got to put that on my calendar. I'll miss that. Here at the county office. Have a motion to adjourn. Freddie makes a motion. Second by Larry at 7:05.